I couldn't have black pepper. I couldn't have pineapple. I couldn't have all these tomatoes. I'm like, wait, these oats, like the most common things in my diet, like the most basic level, were all like, oh, you have a food sensitivity too. I'm like, that cannot be right.
Yeah.
That cannot be right.
Yeah.
And it's very overwhelming when not only just trying to like, okay, watching what I purchase and what I'm buying at home and making meals, then I can never eat out. Like black pepper, how do I avoid that? I mean, it's scary. It's for a lot of people when you receive those results. And I know that there are sort of different takes on how seriously we should receive those results and maybe implement any changes. So I'm glad to hear you say that, because I think for a lot of people it's like, all right, you know what, I opened up this can of worms and now I wish I didn't, and I'm just going to slowly back away, rather than being able to kind of like feel empowered to attack it head on, because it almost seems impossible.
Yeah. And I think that's like when we always want to be curious and ask the question why. So it's like when you got that back, it's kind of like, wow, all right. So if all of these foods are coming up, like why is there so much inflammation? Why is my immune system over responding to these foods? Like why? Because we could take those foods out, and yes, you probably will have a period of time that you might feel relief. And we see that, but often as the months go by, your immune system's like, ooh, now the new foods you're eating are going to be culprits, because we didn't, like, it's like you're walking around with a tack stuck in your foot. And it's like, oh, we're going to put a Band-Aid around it, or we're going to wear a different pair of shoes, or we're going to dress it up so that it doesn't hurt as much, but the tack is still stuck in the bottom of our foot.
I love the analogy.
Like,
that was great.
It's my days as a teacher, or just like the way my brain works.
Yeah, we got the donut, the tack in the foot.
Sometimes I jump analogies and like metaphors. My guys are, wait, I thought we were at a roller coaster. I was like, now we're at a
okay, so let's talk diet. It's hard to, I'm sure you might have different recommendations in terms of total, calories or what people should be eating based on the individual. But general rule of thumb when it comes to our diet and how to be responsible about it, do you have any sort of blanket statements that you feel are like comfortable being able to say would apply to most in terms of either what we're eating or how often we're eating?
Yeah, I think fundamentally, like eat whole foods, real foods that when we think about, like, could you trip over them in a field? So it's like you're walking through a field and it's like, oh, there's, a cow or a chicken or like an almond or even like an oat. It's like they look a little different, obvious from the way that they're in the field, but we try to eat as close to that as possible for 80%. So I'm a big like 80-20, kind of like 80% of the food you eat should be like real whole formed foods that are ingredients. And, you could buy like a can of soup or like a box of like a bone broth soup or something. Like, love me some of the like Kettle and Fire brands or things like that. Yeah. And those, we want to look at the ingredient list of that. That's the first thing that I'll look at. And we want to see like ingredients. We don't want to see like, whole packaged like chemical compounds, things that you're like, could I draw a picture of this? And if the answer is no, put it back and find a different brand. So it's like, are you eating real whole foods 80% of the time? And the 20%, that's joy. So like whatever you want to fill your joy with, mine would be like cookies and like probably like cocktails, like the 2 C's.
Cookies and cocktails. I can get down with that. I like that a lot.
But it's like someone else's 20% might be like a crisp apple or like, it doesn't have to be like in the like, whatever food. I don't even want to say like junk food of sorts, but you like fill whatever with you want. So that's like foundationally. From a caloric perspective, or I guess I'll start with like frequency of eating, particularly to women. Again, men can kind of push this a little bit more, but like we want to be eating breakfast. We want to be eating in alignment with our circadian rhythm. So circadian rhythm is essentially our body's 24-hour alignment with our light and dark cycles. And it is what is the number one controller of our hormones. So that's not only we want to live our day like that of having morning light exposure, mid-afternoon light exposure, and then evening protection from light. But we also want to be eating the majority of our calories like during that daylight time when our body is actually asking for energy. So like breakfast within 1 to 2 hours of waking is like so, I like will scream that from the rooftops. My podcast co-host Jillian will literally yell that like she's gonna like up there, like whatever the higher level of screaming is like she's doing that.
Fair.
And
do you think that for people that I know, I've talked about it, I think before, and I know a bunch of people that I talk to also feel the same way, like experiencing this, insomnia. I think COVID sort of changed a lot of things for people when we don't leave our houses every day and have that normal schedule, if you're working from home, or things like just feeling a little bit more anxious or depressed. Do you think that starting to try to just like double check with our circadian rhythm and if that's on track can be a really great first step into remedying some of those things?
It is so powerful. It like I'm really thinking it's getting its time in the sun. It's going to continue. I think I live in a bubble in terms of the information that I take in, but it's in that bubble that I'm in at least. So I think it's like going to start to disseminate out, but absolutely, because that is what helps to actually regulate our cortisol, which is our stress hormone. And we want a very specific pattern of cortisol, which then regulates our hormones, like our sex hormones and even our thyroid hormones. It regulates inflammation in the body. It regulates the sensitivity of whether we're responding to our hormones. It causes a bowel movement in the morning, or it helps to kick off the like communications to a bowel movement, like so much of that. And it also helps with like our appetite and our sleep patterns at night. Like if you want to improve your sleep, get light first thing in the morning within an hour of waking. 10 minutes. 20 minutes if it's raining and like a cloudy day.
Good to know.
Yep.
All right. I guess I got to poke my head outside a little bit more, not just turn over and turn my laptop on.
That's totally, because we are like inundated with light, and that piece of like getting outside, even in the winter. I mean, Boston, like it's cold, but like it can feel like invigorating to do it and to really know that like it is medicine, arguably more powerful than so many of the tools that we actually like talk about in the medicine world.
Yeah. Okay. That's very, very helpful. I want to take a quick moment to kind of just talk about Above Health and in your business. So where does the name, like what does Above Health mean to you? How did you stumble upon that name for your company?
Yeah. I always liked the idea of, again, kind of feeling like I was like womp womp, but I like wasn't. I would go to the doctor and be like, but you're the pinnacle of health. Like, look at your cholesterol and look at whatever. And I was like, but I'm not pooping. And like, I'm bloated and I'm like holding on to weight. And like, I'm the healthiest person that anyone in my family knows and my friends. Like, why don't I look and feel that way? Like, what the F? And feeling like, okay, if this is health, if I'm health, then I want to be like the penthouse of it. And I'm like a little bougie / a lot bougie if you ask of it. Like I like all the like luxury and fun, like things in that. And so I was like, I want my health to be luxurious.
I love that.
So it's like Above Health, like shiny. Yeah. But that idea of like, we deserve to like, if we're at a place that we don't feel vibrant, like we can find vibrancy. And that's really what I want to help my clients. And I get clients, I have like a section of like optimizing clients. A lot of them are men that will come being like, I feel pretty good, but I think I could feel better. And
like
it's
this
so
competition with themselves.
Literally.
Just to like keep going and going.
And it always fascinated me that like, I would get men that would like invest in themselves who like, and their labs, I'd be like, your labs actually look really good. But like, I mean, I love looking at labs and like such a data nerd, like I'll go through them with a fine tooth comb and I like will say like, but we could do this and this and like, give them that roadmap. But my female clients would come in when they're like on the brink of like self-combusting. And I'm like, why are these men able to stroll in my door when they're like, I feel good, but can I feel amazing? And we are just accepting that it's like, I feel like total junk. And I felt like a little less junk for the past like 10 years, but now I literally can't even function anymore. And I'm finally investing in my health. And that is the difference that I see so frequently between the men clients that walk in my door and the female clients that walk in my door, that like we will wait until we are like a fragment of who we are.